What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome to Leafs Digest. If you're a fan of basketball, if you're a fan of the NBA, more specifically, if you're a fan of the Raptors Digest, you've heard of our friends Ben and Riker over at the Raptors Digest. And if you haven't, I don't know what's wrong with you, and I don't know what you're doing. You're missing out on some of the greatest news information, some of the greatest trade updates, hypotheticals, game breakdowns, stats, analysis, segments, anything you could possibly think of regarding the Raptors and players in Canada. You're missing out because you're not following the Raptors Digest. Now, that being said, Ben and Riker have been putting in absolute work over there, grinding to build this brand that is the Raptors Digest. And they have brought yours truly into, and Josh Goodwin in to start what they are building as one of the biggest sports empires, I'm going to call it, in all of Toronto as of right now, to kick off the Leafs Digest. So with that being said, I'm your host, Zach Phillips, and I'm here with your co-host, Josh Goodwin. Josh, how's it going, buddy?
It's doing great, man. Today is a historic day. We got a tough standard to live up to in Ben and Riker, but we're going to do our absolute best, and we're going to talk some Leafs. Most of you guys probably know me from the Raptors channel already. I've been really active there with some betting, with some King of the North segment, a bunch of different things, but making the jump to hockey because we really had to do this pod. We thought it'd be a great idea, and I've been a Leafs fan for as long as I've been a Raptors fan, so I'm here. I'm ready to talk.
Goody. Let's get right into it. This is our first game breakdown. The Leafs just played Vancouver. There's only 7 games left in the season at this point, but before tonight's game, they played Montreal last night. They clinched a playoff spot to be the first team in the North Division to do so, and they locked it up with 67 points. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. This is going to be something I say a lot during this podcast, during all the episodes that we do, and Leafs Digest fans, Leafs Nation, you got to get used to this. It's just a quick steal from Michael Scott from The Office. I'm not superstitious, just a little stitious. And if you are a fan of the Leafs, you know the pain and sorrow that Leafs fans have been going through for a very, very long time. The last time the Leafs pulled it off and won a Stanley Cup, 1967. And what did I say the Leafs locked up their playoff spot with just then, Goody? 67 points. So now I don't know if this is a thing for, some foreshadowing here, and the Leafs are going to be winning a cup again, but I'm going to hold on to that superstition that I carried with me through all of minor sports, and I'm just going to ride with it going through here and just say, this is it. This is the homage to the next Leafs Stanley Cup.
I definitely agree with you that this is the best Leafs team we've seen in some time, but 67 points, let's be real, we are talking about in the North Division, which I firmly stand in saying is not as strong as the American South Division. That seems fairly evident, but nonetheless, we got to look at the team we have right now and realize that in terms of young talent, mixing in veterans, a good goaltending depth, all of this stuff, it's going to make us way more ready for the playoffs than we've ever been before.
Yeah, you got to look at top to bottom of the lineup, bringing in guys like Nick Foligno, Jason Spezza, Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmonds. These are guys who are battle tested. They've been there, they've done it, they've seen it. None of these guys have won the Stanley Cup, but you have other guys in the roster who have, and important guys like Jake Muzzin, somebody who can sit there and be like, all right, boys, I've won the cup. And then you also have guys in the room who are legends in the game of hockey. Joe Thornton passing all-time greats, knocking off guys on the list as we go. Jason Spezza tonight knocks off Maurice Richard in the all-time points list. These guys are just continuing on these amazing legendary careers that they have, and they're doing it in the blue and white in a young locker room, and they're just guys that everyone can look up to be like, okay, that's the guy I gotta play like, that's the guy I gotta act like. And I think it's so great for the playoffs. You even look at what Spezza did last year in the Columbus series when he literally fought to keep that series alive, to keep the season alive, because he saw an opportunity with this team and how good this team was, and it didn't pan out. They lost to Columbus. They technically didn't even make the playoffs, but you look at that leadership, and now there's just filled with guys like that in the room. It's so exciting to see.
I can't say enough about Spezza. He is hands down the favorite of our senior home crew that we got playing on the team now. He is my favorite. It goes beyond what he does on the ice. I mean, he still scores NHL 07 goals out there like it's nothing, which is hilarious to watch. It's nothing. He He doesn't have a ton of them, but you still see him lay into the puck like an old school hockey player. It's funny. He's more effective than you'd expect. We heard about what he did for the AHL players during this COVID season.
Yeah.
He's a leader on and off the ice. Spectacular move. I love it. With a guy like Joe Thornton, I'm going to change up the topic pretty quick. I love Joe Thornton, but it's very clear that at this point, the impact and the benefit of Joe Thornton is off the ice. So that leaves us with a pretty interesting question about the playoffs. Are we going to see Joe Thornton maintain a spot in the lineup the whole way through? Do you predict that happening?
Yeah, to be honest, I think the plan is to have him in. I think the plan would be to keep riding with Joe Thornton, keep him on the ice, keep him on the bench, because as much as that impact is off the ice and in the locker room, it's so important to have that voice right there with you while it's going on. Like, it's great to have, oh yeah, we lost this game in the playoffs, and you come off the ice and Joe's there to be like, boys, like, come on, like, let's go here. We're fine. Be on the ice and practice. It's okay. But it means so much more to have him on the bench making that kind of impact, even just from a vocal standpoint or a morale standpoint. And to be honest, in the last few games, in the last couple of weeks, Joe's game has significantly picked up from that little lull that he had. And like, you look at the beginning of the season, I think that was an outlier. He started off really, really hot. I don't think that that's what Joe Thornton is at 41 years old. I think he was playing with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, and they were giving him a little bit of a boost. He gets injured, and then it's going to take a guy a little bit to get back. And 41 years old, like, it's not like he's just a rubber band out there and he's going to bounce back and be okay, like, immediately. So I can't blame him for that. But I think people overemphasized the beginning of the season and said, wow, look at this guy. Like, this is Joe Thornton. He's incredible. He's going to do this all year. And then when he came back and he had that lull, everyone's like, oh, this is Joe Thornton. He sucks. Like, you got to get him out of the lineup. So I think there was a little bit of overreaction on both ends. And I think what we're seeing right now is the positive impact that he can bring in a playoff series. Like, look at the gritty plays that he's making. That's not necessarily what Joe Thornton's known for, but this is a guy who's going to go out there and be like, I can do this for the team, and this is what I can bring, and he's figuring out his role within this team and how he can help this team be successful going forward. And I see him being on the ice.
You know what? I agree with everything you said there, but I'm a little bit less optimistic about will he be there in the final few stretch games of the playoffs or wherever we end up. Is he going to be a playoff consistent? I think there's a big question mark next to that, and it's because of how many great young forwards we have now. This is a rare luxury for Toronto. It's so clear that they've gone full in. Mm-hmm. They are really waging everything they've got on this 1 year. We saw it with Foligno, right? First rounder, 2/4. That's no problem. Go ahead and take it. We want this year. That's the main goal. So I love that. But when you got that in mind, there has been times where, admittedly, I think even Leafs personnel would tell you if Joe Thornton wasn't Joe Thornton, he wouldn't have been in the lineup at certain times this season, like that lull you're talking about where he went through. Obviously, some injuries have played a role in it. He's back. He's looking better. But if he doesn't stay consistent and he hits another one of those lull, even if it's just for 3 to 4 games, I think you'll see him take a seat, and one of these young kids might come up and really do away with his job in the middle of the playoffs. Again, I think there could be a toxic cultural effect of that. Like, the guys really want to play with Joe. It's not any more evident than when you see Matthews and Marner out there. They score a goal. The smiles are bigger than they've ever been before with Joe on the ice. I agree completely on that, but less optimistic about him staying the whole playoffs. I'd bet you he gets healthy scratched at least one game. Whether or not that's a shock and then everyone wakes up, I think he gets healthy scratched at least once.
Honestly, like, I can see what you're saying. I see how you're saying, like, okay, there's going to be a point where maybe someone pushes him out. But to be honest, I think that that's going to only drive the competitive nature of the team and can only, in my opinion, I think it only boosts the type of play that other guys can produce at that point. Because right now we're looking at this scenario, and this is something I was thinking about watching tonight's game, is like, you're looking at this team that is playing so well, and we're on such a high right now, beating Winnipeg in these couple games, beating Montreal last night, beating Vancouver tonight, and you're saying, wow, this team is so good, like, we got to keep it the way it is. But you still have guys that are looking to find their way back into the lineup. Zach Hyman is out with an injury and for the rest of the regular season right now, but he's going to return for the playoffs. And at some point, he's going to be looking to make an impact on the ice. Like, he is going to be coming back, and it's not a question of whether or not he can find his way back in the lineup. He will be playing. So now you've got all these other guys. You've got, I'd say, like Ilya Mikheyev, Pierre Engvall, Adam Brooks, these are guys who are fighting for their lives to stay on this team. Alex Galchenyuk, even throw him in the mix there. These are guys who they need to make a name for themselves to be like, hey, I can make this impact and I can be a part of a successful team, a successful playoff run, and take this team to the next step to win a championship, which can only create that internal competition, which I honestly see as a benefit because I think it's just going to make everyone else play better. Like if I'm looking at a guy and I'm saying, damn, I need that guy's spot, I can't sit here and sulk. It's the NHL. Like, this is the highest level of the highs. And I think only at this point you can be like, I got to up my game because I need to be in the lineup ahead of that guy. And you've got Zach Hyman coming back, and then you've got this guy that they just acquired from Columbus in the trade deadline, just previous to the trade deadline. Riley Nash, who's skating today. And, like, this is a guy who's going to be wanting to get in the lineup too. Fourth line center, Adam Brooks, watch your butt because he's coming for your job too. Like, he wants to play. So I think their internal competition is just great for this team.
I agree with you 100%. Again, it's something that we haven't had enough of in previous years. The Leafs have always been a tough team to break in the sense that the Marlies are really, really good. They've got a lot of money, typically COVID year. So the bottom half of the lineup always feels competitive, but this year it's truly competitive. And Galchenyuk, I actually love what he's been doing. I know he was he was 30-goal season at some point in his career. There's a lot of upside, I guess you could say there. I think he's been great for the role that we've asked out of him. Mm-hmm. I know he's a bust in comparison to what he was doing at one point. But if you were to take an isolated look at this year, he's been quite successful. I also love what Brooks has been doing. Brooks has been one of the most successful junior careers we have on the team. He had 130 points in the WHL. I think that's second and third to Thornton. And I can't remember who else, but he's got really high up there in the junior points. He had a crazy, crazy early career. Again, didn't quite translate, but he's finding a role with the Leafs that really suits this season and the needs at the moment. And speaking of a guy like Hyman, let's talk about what happened tonight, because obviously he's not in the lineup, but a little bit of retribution coming from Wayne Simmonds towards Alex Edler. What did you think about that? They talked a little bit about it on That's Hockey. Do you think that a player like Alex Edler, who's not necessarily dirty, right? A respected veteran player who goes out there and tries to make a hit. It's very clear he didn't mean to necessarily blow up the knee of Hyman. It happened. People are still saying it's really lackadaisical. You got to be more careful than that. He had to fight and answer the bell next game against the Leafs very early against Wayne Simmonds. What do you think about that? Is that something that should be forgiven more easily? Are you big on the enforcement part of the game still?
Honestly, I love the enforcement part of the game. I think that it has its role, it has its place, and to be honest, for like all the people who are saying, oh, like the players don't want to fight, the players don't want to do this, the NHLPA, the NHL Players Association, has the option to allow or not allow fighting, and they've allowed it all the way up until this point. So, like, if it were to go away and the players really didn't want it, like a lot of people think that they don't or wouldn't want, they have the option to get rid of it, and they don't. They choose to keep it. So it's obviously something that the guys who actually play the game, the guys who are actually paid millions of dollars to be on the ice, they think is an important part of the game. So if they think it's an important part of a game, I can't find myself to disagree with it either. Someone who grew up playing hockey, like, I understand that. It's like, when there's a clean hit, there's no need to seek retribution. Take the guy's number, hit him hard again the next time. You don't need to fight for a clean hit. I think that's just stupid. But a hit like Alex Edler's, do I think he went with the intent to injure Zach Hyman? No. Do I think he went out there and thought, oh, I'm gonna just knee this guy when he's coming through? No. But did he knee him? Yes. Did he injure him? Yes. Yes, he was a bit of a lackadaisical play. It was late in his shift. He was like over 2 minutes into that shift. He's getting tired, maybe a little brain fart here and there, and like next thing you know, your leg's sticking out. That being said, he knows what he's doing. When you go and you're in that situation, you know you're going to hit that guy. If you're going to miss him, he knows his leg's sticking out. Like, don't get it wrong. He's one of the best, like, he's playing in the best league in the world. He's obviously one of the top tier players, regardless of if he's the best player on his team or best player in the NHL or not. He's one of the top tier players. He's in control of his body and he knows what he's doing. He knew he was sticking his leg out to get Hyman there.
You know what? I tend to agree with you, but there are a lot of people here that are saying he didn't mean to injure the player. He didn't mean to go about it illegally. So for him to answer the bell, it just makes no sense. You're not teaching him a lesson, none of that. It was just a mishap in hockey. I'm on the side of regardless of what it was, if you get one of your guys hurt on something that is a penalty, like that play, I think you got to go after him. It's just, you got to make him think twice. It's the insurance policy that good teams are going to take out on their players.
Yeah.
It's been happening to the Leafs forever. And on that point, let's segue to the, are the Leafs a dirty team narrative? That's ridiculous. That is Toronto media sensationalism going wild with the first good team we've had in forever. We finally got some jam, and now everyone's like, hey, are we dirty? It's more like we're celebrating the fact that we can ask the question than genuinely wanting an answer. We're not a dirty team. We play hard. It's silly to me, but get more on your take on that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it's like, oh yeah, here's like one or two like borderline hits. A guy grabs a fine. Joe Thornton hits somebody like late. To be honest, if you watch the play again, like it's not really late. He kind of just hit him a bit high, and they probably were just like, headshot. I don't know, maybe not. Like we'll dish out a fine. Like what's $3,000 out of Joe Thornton's pocket? He's been playing the league since 1997. Like Joe Thornton is not stressing over $3,000 out of his pocket. It's more of just like a hey, little slap on the wrist. Don't do that again. But as far as being a dirty team goes, complete bogus. It's more of just people being like, here's a team that's been soft as possibly can be for like 10 plus years, and oh my god, someone went and hit somebody hard. You're a dirty team. Like it's the complete overreaction that gets blown up in the Toronto media again, and it's just complete bogus. Like there's no other way to put it, really.
Yeah, I guess by that standard, McDavid's a dirty player. So
yeah, two dirty plays this year, and Connor McDavid, dirty player.
It's called being fed up. McDavid's fed up. The Leafs are fed up. I'm fed up. So I don't hate to see it. I don't hate to see it whatsoever. I don't think we're a dirty team. We're just playing hockey, the playoff brand that we've been lacking. Don't mind that at all. And speaking of the playoffs, another big question for us going into it is goaltending. The guy that we thought was our future, who still very well could be, Freddie Anderson. No slander there. I think he's great. He's had some shaky years. But it's just very apparent that when you look at a guy that big, that skilled, if he heats up, he will help you win. But Jack Campbell, 11 straight out the gate. Come on. Like, he might be the guy you ride into the playoffs, and then you get Big Save Dave in the mix. There's a ton of stuff going on. We're not even looking bad past those points. The whole depth chart is really, really solid at the moment. Who do you think the guy that we go into the playoffs is? Who are we rolling off of goaltender-wise?
All right, hear me out. I think we're going in Jack Campbell. You got to keep this guy going. Here's a couple things to think about is, one, there's only 7 games left in the season. That's not a lot of time for Freddie Anderson to get in the net, get some ground, and work out any of these kinks that he may have in NHL game action, let alone any type of pro action at all. Skating in practice is one thing, but then apparently, like, I don't even think he's taking full skates and like going through the full game like motions in practice. Like, he's still reeling it in a bit. And then you move over to like, okay, has he seen an NHL shot? Has he seen the actual game going on in front of him? No. And okay, and then he hasn't even gone and like done like a trial run essentially with like the Marlies to see how that's gonna go. So what if you bring him up in these last 7 games and he's just like complete garbage? Like, you never know. The other thing to think about here, Frederik Andersen is historically slow with his starts to seasons. Historically slow. And I know this is not the start to a season, but this is a start for Freddie Andersen that is a long, long, long pause since the last time he's seen an NHL shot in a game. And who knows what this guy is going to bring the first time that he gets in there. And I know that this is a complete shot in the dark. And I know that this is a bit of like a scary take and you really don't want to rely on it. But if you ride Jack Campbell and you get to the point where you're like, man, like Campbell's hurt, or Campbell played bad last night, or Campbell can't do this, and you throw Freddie in a playoff game, there's just that, I feel like there's a good chance Freddie just has a fire under his ass to be like, I need to stand up and take my net back. It's the playoffs, and I need to make sure I'm the one back in net next game and not Jack Campbell. And that could just be like enough to be like, go get him, Freddie. Like, come on, give her one here. Like, you know what I mean? And just get him going for that. It's like one of those ones you do not want to rely on that. That's not where you want to be in that situation. But it's like, Campbell's been playing really well, and you get another good performance out of Riddick tonight, it's like, okay, you got 3 guys here who can at least take the net and play above average for you. So I don't know. I'm rolling Jack Campbell. What about you, Josh?
For me, Freddie, he hasn't been here through the toughest of years, but he definitely feels like an OG Leaf. You know, he's not at that point fully in his career, but he feel like I associate him with Matthews. I associate him with Marner. This whole era that's come up and really tried to build something. The power of a storyline, especially in hockey, a heart game. I think it could really benefit the Leafs and Anderson at this point. Again, I think in a perfect world, you go into it with Campbell being the starter. He's just too hot to ignore right now. He's looking really solid. The Leafs play good in front of him. But I tend to think that if we get to a cup final, you might see Freddie back in net. I don't know how that happens over the course of it, whether it's an injury, whether it's a we need a change. But I really like the narrative that Freddie's going to come back and take the net. And I think the guys are going to play really motivated in front of him because they know what this means to Fred. He's a really focused guy. You know, goalies, we can say all we want about goalies. You know, they're interesting characters. They're wacky. But Freddie is focused. He's got that MJ demeanor, about 10,000% less. But none, you know what I mean. He is a really locked in guy. He's focused on the game. He cares genuinely about his team. I think he's a winner. You know, he tends to get lit up a little bit, especially. I think it's a really valid point that Freddie does have noticeably slow starts to seasons. And when you've had him out for this long and you're going to put him into the thick of it, that might be a recipe for disaster if you're talking about the previous times that he's come in like that. But I think he'll come back. I think he'll take the net, but I think you do start with Campbell.
Okay, and one last thing before we end off this inaugural episode of the Leafs Digest. One player who has been really exciting, and you want to talk about taking advantage of opportunities, a guy who gets in the lineup due to an injury, and it's someone who's kind of just been lurking in the weeds, kind of waiting to get their shot, waiting to get some type of showing out there. Rasmus Sandin. I could not be more excited about this guy and what the potential of this guy has for the Toronto Maple Leafs because, like, you talk about forward competition and guys going out of the lineup and fighting for spots, and you look at the D, and it's been pretty much set the whole season. You got Riley Brody, Hall Muzzin, and then on your 5-6, it's Dermott Bogosian. Bogosian goes out with an injury, and the Leafs have acquired Ben Hutton, so now you add 7 in there, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, Rasmus Sandin is back, he's ready to go, let's give him a shot. And he has been playing outstanding. Like, I love watching this guy play. Tonight, puts up like 20 minutes. I think he had 1 assist. He's +2. He's like, the way he plays with the puck, the way he plays in his own zone, he is so poised. And for a smaller, skilled guy, he's very physical. He's a guy that will make other teams question whether or not to put the puck in his corner, because if he isn't going to beat you with a skill move in the corner and break it out, or like fake a pass one way, spin around the other way and make a breakout pass, like, this guy will go in there and throw a Cronwall hit on you and knock you out like Blake Wheeler. Like, you don't know. This guy's kind of unpredictable in the best way possible. Like, he's not unpredictable as, oh my God, is he going to throw a pizza up the middle? But you're looking at him like, this guy could run you through the boards, or he's going to break your ankles and spin you inside out, go the other way and make a breakout pass and start a rush the other way. It's just, for a guy as young and small as he is, he's so poised, and it's so exciting going into the playoff run, looking at this guy being like, okay, this guy could fit in there.
Yeah, that's my thing too. The criteria for a great defenseman in my books is being able to break out the puck efficiently.
Yeah.
That right there is just really the make or break point. We saw it with Jake Gardiner. So many guys who are clearly amazing hockey players. They have size. They have really everything you could ask for, but they don't have that poise, that natural poise, the edges, the hands to break it out consistently. Sandin at a very young age looks exceptionally good at that. That's something the Leafs have missed really bad. I mean, not so much as of now with the roster we have, but just in the past few years, speaking on that, this is a great change for them. I love Sandin. Everyone's talking about how he plays defense, super Swedish. I can kind of see it. He's really impressed me, and tonight he looked good. Got the second star of the game and an assist, like you said, +2. I think he was solid. I'm really excited for him, and I think he's seasoned it.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about him too is he's not just coming in here offensive defenseman. He's coming in here as like, okay, this guy is stellar defensively. Like you see in the first period, texted you about it, and it's like, it's just something as simple as there's a 2-on-1 and he makes a sliding defense, like a sliding block to block the pass from going across on a 2-on-1 play coming the other way from the Canucks. And it's like, this is stuff that we need. This is stuff we've been missing because it's so important to have guys who can break up plays and know where to be on the ice, know where their guys are, know to be in the right position, to make a hit, to stop a puck from going in the zone, to make that right breakout play like you're saying. Like, he's so defensively and positionally aware. It just brings something that I think that the team has been missing, and it brings up that level of competition again from the back end. So I don't know. Could Rasmus Sandin be playing in the top 4 by the end of the playoffs? Maybe not, but it's brings that level of competition, and it's something to look forward to in the future, to say like, okay, this guy's a legitimate defenseman and he's going to be one of our top guys going forward. It's very promising. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's a major relief for Leafs fans too, who had to see us draft him and Liljegren, right?
Yeah.
And Liljegren's been a year away forever now.
Yeah,
so
Bruno Caboclo of the NHL.
Exactly. So to see it really come through for Sandin, and I guess come through is a relative term, there's a lot more positive indicators right there right now. And he's looked good. He's worked on the things like earlier. We talk about that, the reverse kind of Cronwall hit he threw. Well, people don't really notice. He got blown up like twice before on that shift, and he's been dummied. That's been one of his biggest knocks. He's not big enough to be an NHL defenseman. Well, clearly he heard that. He's made adjustments. So I think he's looking a lot better. Guys might be thinking twice about going up and trying to plant him face first in the boards like they've been doing his whole career. Finally, he's got guys thinking a little bit more in that regard, and he's a puck mover. So I think the Leafs not just love him, they need him.
Yeah. I don't know, Goody. I feel really good. Leafs clinched a playoff spot. They're on a roll right now. They've got 4 or more goals in 4 straight games. I think we're on a 4-game win streak right now. 7 games left in the season. Austin Matthews has 36 goals. He's going to put up 40. I'm calling it right now. Lock of the century. Matthews, 40 goals this year, minimum. I feel so good about this team. I think we're going to come out of the North. We're going to have a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup. And man, I can't wait to be on this ride with you. It's been a fun first episode of the Leafs Digest. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to be here and just absolutely spew about the Leafs every single night, about the games that go on and just all these things that we could possibly think of. Try to break trades, break news, like whatever we got to do on here. I'm super excited about the future holds. So thanks to our friends at the Raptors Digest, Ben Rogers and Riker. It's been a blast for our first episode, Goody. Can't wait to do it again on Saturday.
Signing off.